call this meeting to order, please. All those able, please say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brittany, can you do the roll call?
Sure, Mark Stroud.
Here.
Dan Esco. Our chair, Robert Bishop.
Here.
And excused is John Boyle.
John Bowles is excused. Okay. First on the agenda, minutes of October 28th, 2024, and November 12th, 2024.
Okay, we'll take them one at a time. I was absent from the November 12th meeting. Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the meeting minutes from Monday, October 28th as presented.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And we have enough to,
We'll have to table
Vote
that one.
these in or
Yeah,
just
we don't-
table?
Yeah, we'll table.
all right,
November
I
12th.
move we table the November 12th meeting minutes until the next meeting.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The public to address the board. This is a time when the public may address the board on any item listed on the meeting agenda or any issue or matter of the town. If you intend on addressing the board at this time, we ask you to do the following. Please identify yourself by name, address, or the company/institution you represent. The public address to the board segment will last no longer than 30 minutes. Each individual will be given 3 minutes. Please make your comments concise and try not to repeat statements made by others. Please address your comments to the board chair. Discussion or debate on any issue may not take place at this time. The chair or the designee may answer the questions on procedural matters. Please be cordial and respectful of others. If anyone wishes to be recognized when the board discusses an agenda item, please make that request at this time. The board chair may grant this request, address comments to the board chair, and be concise. We are meeting in person and making this meeting available via Zoom for the convenience of the public. Since we are meeting in person, we will not be responsible for any technical difficulties. So if you'd like to be sure of participating, please attend in person. Does anyone want to speak on any of the items on the thing? Henry?
Henry Rose, North Mountain Road. I have a few comments. One is at a recent meeting, it was decided to spend $20,000 on a police drone. I wanted to say, is there any plan to share that with neighboring communities so they can share in the cost? Because that sounds rather expensive, and not knowing a lot about it, it sounds like something we won't have to use on a daily basis. So I'd like to comment on a matter of economics. Did we look into sharing this with other communities?
We'll look into that and get you an answer.
I know you're looking to building a new police station. Are you at the point of being able to share what the cost will be per average household? as
Not a
far as
clue
the
at this
increase?
point.
Not a clue yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Nowhere near that.
Okay. I know that you're going to be discussing that issue later in the meeting. I would like to comment during that time if I have questions. Is that allowable?
Okay.
We're going to be having a special election to replace Joe Digger, his vacancy on the board. I understand we've set a date for that special election. It's important to the people of the town that we have a forum to learn about the candidates. I hear there are at least 4 right now. I don't know these people very well. I understand you're going to be talking about having a forum, and I believe that's already on your mind. I'd like to make a comment that I want the moderator for that forum to be the editor of the iBerkshires. I propose this because I think it's very important that we have a moderator who's viewed as completely unbiased, who's respected by the community, who has no special interest at all in who wins the election. So I'd like to propose the name of Brittany Polito, who's the editor of iBerkshires, and I have her phone number and her email, and I'd like to give it to you.
You can give it to me, Henry, but we already have somebody in mind that's totally neutral.
Are you at liberty to share that?
We will when we get to the item.
Okay.
It is on the agenda. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Okay, number 6, appointment ratifications. Mr. Hutchinson.
Yes, first, I would like to present Acting Chief Cachet of the Dalton Fire District as the acting forest warden. I neglected to do that at the time he became acting chief of the Dalton Fire District, and I'm remediating that tonight with this appointment for your ratification.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the appointment of Chris Cachet as acting forest warden from December 16th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Chris, for doing what you're doing.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, next Tom.
Yes, and also, I'm very pleased to present Victoria Argiro as an administrative assistant to the health agent. Unfortunately, the last administrative assistant resigned, and we conducted a good search, had several candidates, interviewed them, and both the health agent and the nominee are here, the candidate are here tonight. If you'd like to just say a few words about yourself, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
please
Hi,
tell us about yourself.
my name is Victoria. I'm looking forward to working with Agnes and the rest of the town of Dalton.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right,
Also a
Mr.
little camera shy, so.
That's all right.
Sorry.
We'll make it quick.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the appointment of Victoria Argiro as administrative assistant to the health agent effective December 17th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Did we get your last name right?
It's Argiro. Argiro.
Argiro.
It's okay. No one gets it right. It's okay.
There's only one on this one.
I see that, yeah.
Yeah, this one's not.
Okay.
And next, we have James Doucette as a van driver. Unfortunately, Paul Durfee is not able to continue with that commitment, but we would very much appreciate the appointment of James Doucette. We are in desperate need of van drivers, and very grateful to you for stepping up.
People don't call me James, though. They call me Jimbo.
Jimbo. all right.
Jimbo? Okay.
I'm going to call you James for the appointment.
Okay.
It's the last time I'll do it. All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the appointment of James Doucette as a COA van driver effective December 17th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome, Jimbo.
Thank you.
And finally, I don't see her here, but Tammy Flatley, our current assistant town collector, I'm nominating to be interim town collector due to the resignation of our town collector. And that would be effective on the 19th.
Okay. Mr. Chairman.
And it's just for a month. We're working out some details with her personally, but I think it's important to have someone in that position for signature purposes and other things, other authorities that lie in that position.
Okay.
Was she recommended by Melissa Davis?
I'm sorry?
Was she recommended by Melissa Davis?
She was not, but she is the only person in that office. She remains someone who is present and can take on these things for a short period of time. We'll try to get someone in as soon as possible.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the appointment of Tammy Flatley as interim town collector effective December 19th, 2024 through January 19th, 2025.
For a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Brings us to license renewals.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we open as a licensing board.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
So Alyssa, would you like to handle this agenda item?
In your packet, it's broken out. The first is alcohol licenses. There actually are no changes to any of the licenses from last year, except the game machine. Last year, VFW had 2 pool tables. This year, they only have 1. So it's same old, same old. Everyone has turned in everything. They turned in their payments. Yeah, we're good to go, and all the licenses are in the folder to be signed.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the alcohol license renewals for the 14 businesses as presented in our packet.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. I'm going to take this just one sheet at a time, I think.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 2025 common victualler licenses for the 20 businesses that have renewed as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 2025 entertainment licenses for the 8 businesses as presented.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. And finally, well, there's actually 2 more. A few more. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 2025 game machine licenses for the 2 businesses as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 2025 jukebox licenses as presented. There's 4 businesses for this one.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further comments or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
And finally, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 2025 Class 2 automobile licenses for the 2 businesses as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I'll just note for the audience, the list of businesses that have renewed is obviously public record. For the sake of brevity, we haven't listed everyone out in the meeting verbally, but if anyone is so interested, the information is available at Town Hall.
Okay.
Call the vote.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close as a licensing board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, number 9, ARPA update and recessions.
8.
Oh, I'm sorry. Update on the Public Safety Committee.
I believe Tony Pagliarulo is here from that committee. I understand either of the co-chairs could make it this evening, so Tony, if you'd be good enough just to say where we are in the process, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I had no notion of or intention of speaking this evening, so I haven't prepared, but there's members on the committee that can fill in the blanks. I haven't touched upon it, but we're meeting regularly. We'll meet this Wednesday before we meet again in January. His last meeting was a voted meeting with Brian Hume of Hume and Jakuski, if I'm saying it incorrectly, a Berlin firm that's been chosen, hopefully to be chosen to lead our feasibility study. And it was a great meeting, I thought. He zoomed in and basically he gave us some timelines, and he's pretty much looking to mid-January, I think the most important timeline in terms of completing the needs assessment for the town. And meeting with the chief, the police department, and Gabby, the response. So that's where we're at. We have 7 properties, which we pointed or scored, which I hope we'll talk about this Wednesday, in January, in terms of nailing down a site. If I had to speak for the committee, I think that's our next big task, is to nail down a site. So 7 of them are on board. So this Wednesday meeting should be interesting in terms of moving forward. I hope I missed anything. The video this evening, that's really why I came to watch the video, because we only saw it in part from Dalton Cable. So this evening we'll have a video, which I hope the public will see. As I said months ago, seeing is believing. I know my Berkshires came out with a video, but personally, what I saw, the video that Dalton Cable made, I think it's excellent. I think it should be posted on our town website, let people know on Facebook or whatever other media, to actually take a tour, a virtual tour.
Okay. Do we have that video available?
Yes?
Melissa has it.
Yeah, right now? Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so 5 things that makes the Dalton Police Department not a long-term option for us. We have very poor plumbing. Our bathroom overflows. We've had raw sewage overflow. Our sink in our kitchen doesn't work. The kitchen's on the other side of the interview room. We're not ADA compliant, so you have to come down a full flight of stairs. And that's difficult for, someone who might have a disability or an elderly person who needs to come to talk to an officer. It might be difficult for them to get down a flight of stairs to talk to us. Our cells are horrific. They do not meet state guidelines. They're too small. They're half the size they should be. There's no plumbing. There's no bed structure. So when we do have a prisoner, we have to take them out of this little tiny cell and bring them to the restroom if they need to use the bathroom, which is also up a few stairs. So it becomes an officer safety issue as well by having to take them out of the cell every single time they need to use the restroom instead of just having that plumbing accessible to them in a cell. Our interview room that we have to talk to victims, witness, suspects, we have that, and then you have to go through that to get to a kitchen for any dispatcher officers to get their lunch or dinner or whatever they have here, or water. You have to go through our interview room to get to the kitchen. Our men's locker room, on the other side of that, is the radio room for dispatch. So we have to allow people who do not work here to go through our men's locker room to get to the radio room. We have asbestos in here. We are infested by rodents. They die in our wall and smell up the station quite frequently. We have bugs, and it's at least 3 to 4 times too small. We have 23 employees in a just over 4,000 square foot place. We have very tiny locker rooms for women and very small for men, and we have no bathroom facilities, no shower facilities, So the one eye wash station that we have is so far away from our booking room that it would be an unsafe journey to bring a detainee all the way into the other side of the basement to use an eye wash station. Right, so our cells are not constructed well at all. They were built, I believe, in the 70s, which is I want to say it was 1987 when the new specs came out that you have to have cells with plumbing and bed structures, and they have to be a certain size. So because we were constructed before then, we are not legal, but there's not a lot of consequence for what we have. But they're not safe because, we've had a prisoner try to kick his way through the wall. You can see the gap that's still there. It's not, Oh, excuse me. It's covered with plexiglass and bars, so they're just very old, and there's no ventilation at all. There's a fan in the top of it, but it goes to nowhere because there's no ventilation. It just flows back into the room that we're in. So, we want to make sure anyone that is here in our custody is safe as well, and they deserve to be treated with dignity, and sitting in a cell of that size is not dignity. It's really not. And we hesitate. We really try not to put anyone in those cells if we can help it.
What are the major issues within the police department that makes it difficult to function within this space?
The major issues that make it lack of functionality is the cells are awful. The booking room is too small. The whole station is too small. The plumbing, there's just so many issues that we don't have ventilation. There's no fresh airflow through the building. It's not safe for our officers and our employees and our dispatchers to be here. It's just not. We have water damage. Water's leaking in from the foundation. The walls are bowing out in both the sergeant's office and the officer's room. The rodents. It's just so many things that just all add up to make this space just not functional. It's not helpful. Too many of us in a small amount of space. We don't have good working conditions here to be successful and provide the services that we need for our community. So state accreditation for a police department is really an assurance. It's a very, very difficult thing to achieve, and you have to be your policies and your practices. Everything has to be in line with what these guidelines and rules and regs are. Our building will never be accredited because it's not accessible to the public. The cells are completely outdated, illegal, too small, no bed structure, no plumbing in them. They're half the size currently that they have to be. They're not sight and sound unseen. You have to have male and female cells separated so they cannot be together. We have no sally port. We have no secure way to get a detainee or someone who's under arrest into the building. We have to take them out of the cruiser on South Carson Ave, walk them up the sidewalk, and walk them down a full flight of stairs and then down more stairs. It's just very, very unsafe for them and for us. So we have an officer's room. There's only 2 workstations. Most evenings we have 3 officers on, so we don't even have enough workstations for the officers to write a report should they need to. That also doubles with the animal control officer's desk and his space. They process their evidence in there when they take stuff in for a case. They do all their reports. They eat their lunch. So you're eating your lunch where you process crime scene evidence or drug evidence. It's just absolutely just not a good space for them. And then we have the sergeant's office, which 3 sergeants share one office. It also has things for emergency management. It's an EOC, Emergency Operations Center. So they share that space with us. So should they have an emergency that emergency management had to come in and help, distribute things, they have a tiny little space in there to use, but it's not a good functional space. It's not big enough for them to be able to distribute things that they need. And it's also, we use it as our training space. So we have to pull chairs in and squeeze our entire department into this little tiny room to try to do any type of departmental training. So it's just not a functional space. We are out of space here. So right now there's myself and 1 other female officer in a locker room that didn't exist until I became the chief. Chief Riello, our interim chief prior to that, made the executive order to turn a little crevice that we had a soda machine into a women's locker room because he was very upset that there was no locker room for women. He was horrified because he actually saw me go into the male locker room to change, and he goes, "Why is she going in there?" Because that's the locker room I had to use. I had to go in and use the same locker room as the guys did. I shared a locker room with them. And so we created a little tiny space. It's very, very small. There's no showers here. There's no ability to wash your uniform should you get shall we say, bodily fluid or blood, or we go on medical calls, things like that on our uniform. There's nowhere to wash those things, so you end up having to bring that home to your family, and nobody wants that either. So if the voters were to help us through this and get us a new building, I definitely would like to see, a sally port so we can have security when we bring arrestees in. Space for my officers to be able to do their work and they're not on top of each other, enough equipment so we can be functional. Cells that meet the standards, like the bare minimum standards, that are not so small where someone can kick their way out of it, as plumbing in the cells, bathrooms that don't overflow, walls that don't have rodents dying in them, in the fall. And I know that's gross. I understand it's gross, but we live with it. And, back in the spring, I had something of a large nature die in my wall, and I couldn't use my office for the first 2 hours of the day because it smelled so bad in here for 2 months. Which is why we contacted the Department of Public Health, because we didn't know what it was, and whatever it was not pleasant, and it's just nobody should have to work in a facility my administrative assistant and I don't have heat. Dispatch doesn't have heat. The bathroom doesn't have heat. We don't even have heat in the winter. We gotta wear, this is our space heater that keeps us warm back here when it gets cold, and we have to wear a jacket all day. It's just not working conditions that nobody should have to work in. You know, so these are some of the things that we have. So I would like heat in my office. It's not like we're asking for the world. We want heat. We want rodents not to be dying in our walls. We want a facility that's safe for the public, safe for our officers, safe for our dispatchers, safe for my assistant. It just needs to be a safe place where there's ventilation and clean air and plumbing that works and a kitchen that is functional so they can eat their meals here and, you know, not have to, you know, when they bring food from home, that they can utilize it and not have to walk through someone's interview to get to it. So there's just a lot of things that, you know, this might have been a good space 50 years ago when they put it here. Right. So, you know, with the signing of the reform bill back in December of 2020, reserve officers became more difficult to have. They had to have far higher certification, which I think is a great thing. They definitely should be as highly trained as they can be. But it made it difficult for smaller departments to employ reserve officers because they need to be full-time certified. And when you're full-time certified, you can just go get a full-time job elsewhere. And if what we used to do is have 5 reserve officers, and they would fill vacant shifts. And then now that there's no reserve academy, they have to go to a full-time academy because the Bridge Academy is closed. There's no more option to send anyone to the bridge to certify them. So we would have to hire someone and send them to a 5.5-month full-time police academy, and then they would come here and work a shift or 2 a week. Nobody's going to do that. So it became more and more difficult to have reserve officers. So we have 2 left currently, and we have 12 full-time officers, and we're looking to go to 13 full-time officers based on our call volume and, you know, the requirements that have been put upon us. With all of these changes and evolving times in law enforcement, it's a lot more work and administrative responsibility that we have to do these things, and we just need more people to do it. So, right. So our communication center, we have a regional dispatch center right in our building that used to be located at the Dalton Fire Department. In 2007, it did get moved to the police department. My understanding is, you know, for security purposes, and as you can see, it's a secure room. Nobody can walk in and access the computers. And it wasn't a secure facility at the fire station. Anyone could walk in and they could see the computers, and that's not allowed in the state for CORI information, which is criminal record information. We have to make sure that's secure and only proper people can access that. So it was moved here in 2007. And they were put into a room that we used to utilize for reports. So then we got pushed downstairs, and that used to be a town meeting room downstairs, which was, you know, public would come in and out for meetings before we were somewhat secure of a facility. So then we lost our space and had to move there. So now we've taken on at least 5 more employees in a space that has, like I said, just over 4,000 square feet. So we have dispatchers now that dispatch for 3 communities for police, fire, and EMS.
So the dispatch is a separate entity from the Dalton Police Department. We are an independent communication center. We are a regional communication center that services 3 communities, Dalton, Hinsdale, and Windsor. We provide police, fire, and EMS dispatching, as well as business calls, highway, 911 services for all 3 towns.
What challenges do you face working within town hall and, you know, the structure of it? Why is it causing those challenges?
Well, the challenges are it's way too small. After 9/11 and the upgrades to the 911 system, the state stated we had to be in a secure facility. Originally, the Dalton Communication Center was housed in the Dalton Fire Station for many, many, many years. So in 2007, we moved to the Dalton Police Department. At that time, I don't feel there was enough forethought into what was needed in communications. It was, we have a small room, we can fit you in there, and that's where we're going to fit you. There was no forethought to growing and the needs of dispatchers in here.
How does the tight-knit room that you guys are in affect?
Well, for one thing, if we need to use the bathroom, we need to open our door, which we have to go across the hall and access our bathroom across the hall. Now, this hall is the lobby to the police department. So if any of the dispatchers need to use the restroom, we are now leaving it unsecure, and anybody can walk in. That was very poor planning.
Ideally, in a new space, what is it you'd be looking for?
Well, we would be looking for a space probably at least 4 times this size. One with our own bathroom, right in our dispatch, connected to the same room so that we're not having to leave. One of the other constraints we have is we utilize the kitchen in the police department, which is out another door, down 3 steps, through their interview room, and into our kitchen. We have no access to it if they're doing interviews, which we understand, and we're very good about that. However, we're now leaving our dispatch room to nuke our lunch. We use a baby monitor to monitor our radios and our phones. If we hear the sound over that, we have to come running up the stairs. And luckily, in the last 14 years, no one has twisted an ankle or broken a leg running back into the dispatch center. The other constraint we have is, per 911 standards, is we have to have a minimum of 2 fully operational 911 positions. When they put this in, they only put 1. Over time and through grant funding, I have been able to start to build in a second dispatch center or dispatch console, because as our call volume goes up and the severity of our call volumes go up, we, on several occasions, have to run 2 dispatchers in here. Or just something as simple as, if there's a malfunction in our system, the dispatcher should be able to just get up and walk over to a fully mirrored console and continue their work until the problem is fixed. That has been an issue since we have been in here. The more efficient we can be, the more efficient response times for their services.
So, on top of law enforcement and animal control and emergency management, everybody's in this one building, this one space. How many could it? Or I mean, well, currently it houses 23 employees, and should it? Absolutely not. No, it's too small. Like, we can't even, absolutely not.
But how many, when the police department gets a new space,
Mm-hmm.
how many people comfortably should this place be able to comfortably house, would you say?
In this basement?
Yeah.
Nobody should be in this basement. It's not safe. The air is disgusting. There's mold, there's rodents, there's poor plumbing. Nobody should be in this space. So if the town wants to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix it for other people to come down here, then that's their prerogative. But currently, nobody should be working down here. Certainly not a police department. Well, I think the community of Dalton is a safe place, and it's a safe place because the police department does a really good job providing that safety and doing a good job. But I think, we want to provide the proper service to our community, and it's difficult for us to do that, in a tiny space that is not functional, nor is it safe for our officers. So, we want to make sure we retain the officers we have. They're amazing people that do a really, really good job. They're well trained and they love our community. So we need a space to retain them and make sure we provide the service that our community deserves.
Chief, any additional comments you want to make?
You have 3 days. So, in all reality, that video, I appreciate Dalton Community Cable for producing that video. Our station is a mess. It's embarrassing that our police department even is in this building. It's not safe, and my concern is there are people that don't understand what a police department should be and what it should look like and to be a functional space. I mean, that is clearly not it. We appreciate the support of all of you and our town manager. And the Public Safety Committee has been amazing. We couldn't ask for people to work harder and give more of their time for this, so we appreciate all of you. We are working really hard to get the community educated. We are going to start hosting tours of the police department for anyone that wants to come in and see it. It's got to be a guided tour because we can't let people in unattended. So we'll start doing that like one weeknight a week and on a weekend day as well as we get closer. So the feasibility study should show the needs assessment, which is what we would need based on our call volume, based on staffing, what our staffing should be, which is well above what we are. Do you guys have any questions for this?
I haven't.
Anything?
No, I mean, I think over the past 6 months, we've seen the situation. Obviously, the video highlights a lot of it. We've seen the reports in the Department of Public Health. It's not, I guess the question I would have is it to the point where does the space need to be vacated sooner? Like
We've talked about that.
a temporary house,
There's just nowhere to go. I mean, that's really what it is. There's nowhere for us to go on a temporary basis. There's nowhere, we have to have cells. The sheriff's department's not going to take our prisoners for us. By statute, we have to have these cells based on our population, so that's just not an option for us. I mean, if we had an emergency, we'd have to figure something out. Right now, we're just going to make do. As long as we're having forward progress, the union has been exceptionally patient. They have not filed any grievances about the conditions because they feel the same as I, that everyone is working diligently to educate our community and, move us forward in the right direction. So I think as long as that progress is still happening, I think the union is satisfied with that progress. So, some heat would be great, but I won't ask for the world here. So, but it is, like today it was freezing. I had to wear my jacket and sit next to a space heater all day, and it's awful. So it's, nobody should be working in these conditions, and it's not just me, it's our dispatchers, it's the bathroom, it's Becky, literally having to have a blanket on her lap. I mean, it's frustrating, and it's, morale damaging, I will say that. So, but again, we appreciate the diligence of everyone involved, so just hope we keep moving forward.
Thank you.
thank you.
Henry?
Aren't there things that could and should be fixed right now while you're...
There are
having
things
your
being
committee?
addressed, yes.
Like the plumbing, the rodents, and that sort of thing? And,
Yeah.
I've been hearing about this for a while. And,
It's being addressed as you speak.
It just takes time. So you can't just send someone in, redo the plumbing immediately. So we've got engineering funded and underway, is my understanding. So,
And even if we get a new building, aren't there things that have to be fixed just because it's our building?
Yeah,
It's the
they have to be
building
fixed
that we have
regardless.
now, So that would still need to be fixed, yes? You can't have rodents running around the walls of your town
Absolutely.
hall and other things. Is there a price tag to fix it? And if so,
That's what the
is it?
engineering study's for.
Studying.
Yep.
And then I'm glad Deanna mentioned the sheriff. Is there a way to get a workaround so that if you have a prisoner in a wheelchair or whatever need, can't they help out with that? Is there a way that state regulation can be changed to accommodate the necessary need?
I can't answer that question, so I don't know. I don't know anything about that.
Can I just speak briefly?
Yeah,
Henry?
go ahead.
I'm a member of the committee, and we did visit Williamstown and Williamsburg. And it's interesting, Henry, because when we went to Williamsburg, it's a brand-new facility. You may see it out there. They just put canopy for solar. Well, going through the building and to my notification, I learned of what's termed a sally port. Someone's arrested, brought in a police car, they drive into a dedicated garage next door to the booking room. Well, Williamsburg can't use their sally port. The booking room is unsafe, so their suspects have to be taken to the county jail. And so here's a brand new facility that is unusable. And I just want to assure people that our committee, and with the guidance we're receiving or hope to receive, we want to be very diligent and create due diligence here to build a facility that's going to be a 21st century facility. I just want to say one last thing. I know we always talk about money and structures, and I started on the committee with that too. But I've asked the chief to give me some biography or background as to the people. Our greatest asset in this community are the people. And it's the police department, the people that populate, who do their jobs every day, that makes my family and my friends feel secure in town. This is for the police department, not the structure, but to maintain a police force that's doing as good a job as they can and won't be lured away to another location or another department. We want to keep them here. So I just want to point that out. That is the people that we're really working for. The facility is going to house those people.
Thank you. Mr. Drossing.
We were seeing 878 South Street in Dalton, and also the chair of the finance committee. One thing that the video is very informative. I'm sure the need we've seen and witnessed. I spent time on the finance committee down in that area, so we're quite familiar with the police station. I would caution us and be very careful with advertising for or against this building. We need to simply present it. We're not allowed to use taxpayers' funds in any way, shape, or form to advocate for or against. That doesn't mean that I'm for or against it. That means that we need to follow that level. If it's the same as a campaign for office, it's the same thing. And if you noticed in previous capital campaigns such as this, they had the advocates for the event or the place that it's going to. Friends of the police department, friends of the building, friends against the building. Those kinds of committees need to be formed to do this. The town can only bring in the people to do the feasibility studies. They can only bring in the people that the needs studies and things of that nature and present them. That's all we can do. Advocating for or against it is something we really need to be careful going forward. Thank you.
Okay.
Question?
Go ahead.
Under Rose, North Mountain Road. So I appreciate everything that people just said. What about the question of the sheriff's facility that I know is not full? Are there times where you could use that facility to put a prisoner who has special needs?
Chief, go ahead.
So the sheriff's department is not staffed to take regional prisoners. That's one of our biggest issues as small departments. We've requested that to happen multiple times because it would be very helpful for us to not have to hold a prisoner all weekend, especially in those cells. We do frequently have to hold people overnight or for an entire weekend or a long weekend. We are not equipped for it. That means one of our officers has to stay in the station and do cell watch the entire time we have a prisoner. That's not what we're made for. But the sheriff's department is not staffed for that either. So the answer to that is no. As helpful and as wonderful as our sheriff's department is, they are not staffed to take regional prisoners. So the answer to that is no, they can't. We've tried, they've tried, they're just, because they have to do medical intakes, they don't have people on at certain times. Like every once in a blue moon, they'll take a prisoner for us, but it's not often, and it's not because of lack of cooperation. Again, they are amazing and they are super helpful in our community, but they're just not staffed to take intakes and do the medical and do all of the things that they would have to do to take a prisoner without much notice. So, I don't know if that's helpful, but that's pretty much where we're at.
Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you, everybody. Okay, number 9, ARPA update and recessions.
Yes, I have a sheet I prepared here. I have three sections to this. First are rescissions, which are fairly straightforward. These are items that we definitely do not need any longer. There was an original $40,000 allotment for EV ports, and we're planning to retain about $8,000 of that for paving, which we can, believe we can get a contract for by the end of the, by December 31st. And that, together with the expenses, leaves $6,282 from that allocation that may be rescinded. Similarly, $178 was left over from the Goose House shed purchase order. The bid for the sewer generator for a replacement, the pump station generator replacement, came in under the amount that was given by town meeting by which we weren't expecting, and Bud had asked for an additional $10,000 in case it came in high. He was really expecting it would. Well, one of the bids actually came in below that, so we're able to rescind the extra $10,000 that we put in for that he now doesn't need. And finally, the snow plow, he bought it, there was $105 left over from that. So I would ask that all of these items be that these amounts be rescinded, not the items, but the amounts.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the following ARPA funds rescissions for unused ARPA dollars in the following amounts: $6,282 for EV ports, $178 for the Goose House shed, $10,000 for the sewer generator, and $105 for a snowplow.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. And now we have a discussion on the $100,000 authorization for the police feasibility study, for which the select board also, at the request of the committee, authorized grant writing and a video. We've seen, actually there's not just the video we saw, but there's a shorter version of that was done with iBerkshires that is on the iBerkshires website. So we actually have two videos, and those were both done without cost to the town. I support getting somebody to research and potentially write grant proposals for the project. The first item to get the grant for would be for engineering for the preferred alternative that the feasibility study is going to come up with. So we're going to have some result that is going to be agreed on, we hope, by the committee and brought to the select board and agreed by the select board. And at that point, what we would need would be a full engineering, a full design of the proposed facility, whatever it is. So that's going to take a large chunk of money, and there is planning grant money available for that kind of project. Once we get final plans, then we can apply for construction grants. But we can't get the construction grants unless we know how much the construction is going to cost, which is based on what the plans show.
That makes sense.
So that's the sequence of events. So there's actually two opportunities for grants in this process. And the only wrinkle in this is that we only have a few days left, really a couple of weeks, to obligate these funds. Now, we do have a proposed grant writer who is, I believe, with us on Zoom. That's Lisa Frisch. And hi.
Hi.
And she's come up with two proposals that I sent you. One of them is more based on grant writing. It also includes things that have not been authorized by the select board, at least till now. And then there's a second proposal which is even larger, which includes a number of other things that have not yet been considered by the board. So this is unfortunately the only opportunity that you'll have to discuss these different items. I will note that only in the case of something that costs under $10,000 can we see whether or not it seems like a reasonable cost on the face of it based on general experience and commit money to that without going through procurement. So I would suggest, at least that for the grant writing, that we specify that that's grant research and writing, that we specify that that's what the money would be for, and authorize some number close to $10,000 for that work to take place, and that can take place over the next 2 years, because we have 2 years from December 31st to spend that money. We do have to have it obligated by December 31st. So we could definitely have grant research done on the planning and design phase of the project, and quite likely also on the actual grant proposals for the planning and design phase of the work. It would be tight to have that done within the 2 years to have a grant proposal for construction. But we could at least have the planning for that grant and the grant proposals written, I think, within that period of time for that money. Or you know, we would go as far as we could with that, and we would have all that to work with. So that's the first thing that I'll propose here. For the sort of larger proposal that you have, again, that is beyond what we can do without soliciting 3 quotes from companies that are known to provide this kind of service. So we would have to come up with a request for quotes and get it out. And I don't believe that the advertising requirements, well, no, it's not the advertising requirements, it's just coming up with that request for quotes, sending it out for 4 quotes. We would have to give people a reasonable period of time to respond. And I don't know that with 2 weeks left in the month, that even 2 weeks is a fairly small amount of time for someone to come up with a proposal for this. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not something that I would feel comfortable recommending to you. So my recommendation would be to, that we have the video, we have 2 videos. You also authorized grant funding, which we have not yet funded, which I'm recommending. And then the rest of the money that was originally allocated could be rescinded and used for other purposes. There may be other ideas set there.
Okay. Well, do we have to make, we already authorized $100,000 for a feasibility study. What was the breakout of that? I mean, is this including the grant research and writing? So we don't need to take a vote on that necessarily.
The contract is the baseline of the contract is $61,500. The contract also includes items that we may want to add on to that, so that there's a not-to-exceed fee of $65,000. So it was $65,000 for that, and $10,000 or $9,999 for the grant writer. That would leave $25,000 that was saved by DCTV and iBerkshires and their production of these videos, if that's, anyway, that's how I am looking at it right now.
Mm-hmm. I recall we did authorize creation of a video as a part of that, and it turns out we didn't have to incur an expense. Is that correct?
Well, we have 2 videos now, so one smaller, one larger.
Mm-hmm. And then in front of us here, we have a proposal for media outreach.
Well, that
where does this play in?
Well, that would be, that's the second proposal, which I'm saying. I don't see how we can make that happen at this point. But that would be someone else to come in and do a video. We would pay a media company to produce something. And I don't know, that's what's really up for discussion, is whether that's necessary at this point.
What would be the goal of the media outreach precisely? To influence a voter's decision one way or the other?
That is probably an inevitable part of that. And again, as we've heard, we're very careful when we write the motions and explanations for the articles of town meeting.
Yeah.
We're very careful not to advocate one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, the select board can vote in public on a particular item at town meeting and say the select board supports this motion, right?
Yeah.
But I think for the whole town to produce, let's say, media content, and it kind of ties in with a member of the audience's comments earlier, we want to be careful using public dollars to advocate for one particular outcome over another when it's really the voters who will decide it. Now, the Wacona project, I believe there was a lot of media outreach for that, but I think it was privately funded. It's my understanding. It wasn't actually funded by the district to promote a particular outcome, although personally I'm in support of obviously improving the police department and relocating potentially. As a voter, I would support it, depending on the cost. But as a town expending funds, public funds, I just don't know, looking at this proposal, I'm just not sure this is the appropriate use of the public funds, that's all.
Well, the videos speak for themselves.
Well, absolutely.
In this sense. And we have, everyone's certainly free to speak their points of view, and people can take that as they will. So,
the proposal we have here, are we considering this tonight, or are we not considering it? That's what I want to know.
Well,
that's one that's impossible, almost impossible to do.
Okay.
Highly improbable.
Okay.
Highly improbable.
So this is not being requested, but it was presented to us. I'm just...
Well, it was one of the documents for consideration, but I believe that, especially because it exceeds $10,000, that it would be very difficult to do.
Okay. So are we going to rescind $25,000 of this $100,000 budget?
Well, I think the first thing to do is to nail down the grant research and the grant research and writing position.
Well, it says we're going to authorize 10,000 of the 100,000.
Well, yes, so that's, it wasn't broken down before. It was $100,000 for these 3 things. So now we know what the feasibility study is costing, and I'm asking that the grant research and writing be limited to under $10,000 so that we can procure it immediately.
Okay. Fair enough.
Just real quick, before you go there,
Okay.
Tony P. wants to say something.
Oh, Tony, go ahead.
Yes, thanks. Just a point, and I understand Bill's point about yay or nay. I don't think our committee, I have to speak on our committee's behalf, really thought about videoing or presenting to the public, seeing and believing, as we've said. I don't think we had any intention of looking at a media source to promote this product. I think we're content. I believe we're content, although we certainly would reach out to the public to educate them in terms of where we are in the process. But I just want to add one thing. I know I'm a Johnny come lately here, but at our last meeting last Wednesday, I emailed the committee in terms of survey. As I said, we have 7 properties which we pointed, not survey, appraisals. At some point, we're going to need monies for appraisals. And I know it's very difficult at this juncture, but that could be something, Tom, that could be looked at in terms of allocating or budgeting money accordingly with the 2 weeks left, because whatever site we look at, there's going to have to be an appraisal done. And my understanding, talking to appraisal companies, they could run from $1,000 to $5,000 depending on the property and the wherewithal. So I would ask the committee to possibly set aside money, if it's at all possible, as I said before the new year, to conduct appraisals. That's something very real that's going to have to happen.
It's a great idea. Again, the problem is timing. An appraisal is, the cost of an appraisal is based largely on what the property is that's actually being appraised. So until we know that, we wouldn't know how much to give. We could, and even if you authorize $5,000, it's not obligated until we actually hire someone to appraise a piece of property. So it's unfortunately, I think, late in, either too late or too early, depending on how you look at it, to get that done.
Too late for ARPA funds and too early to commit them.
To pick an appraiser for a piece of property. And really that's, in terms of the project as a whole, that's a relatively small amount of money, so I don't think there'll be any problem, when that time comes.
Okay. So you're looking for specificity on the allocation of these funds to, you said 65,000 for the feasibility, up to 65,000 on the feasibility study, and up to $10,000 for grant writing, grant research.
Well, the feasibility study we don't need because that's in the bag. But the 10,000, call it $9,990 for now.
Okay.
And we'll see how negotiations go with that.
Okay.
Just to be clear that it's not going to hit that limit.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize $9,990 of ARPA funds to go towards grant research and writing for the police, possible police department relocation.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now for requests. And I'll note that there's a small typo at the bottom there under, in the third table, in the second to bottom line, available. That should actually read 23,586, not 68. I just reversed those 2 numbers there. So that would mean that we now have $25,010 that also could be rescinded to pay for other projects.
Okay.
Okay, a motion for that.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize rescission of $25,010 of ARPA funds that were allocated originally $100,000 to police department feasibility study.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Now, finally, we have a number of specific requests. The specific requests total a little more than we had available before that last rescission. So those four requests total $27,825. And I would ask that all of those requests be granted. That's a DPW, a new mower for the cemetery with accessories for the DPW, a Blue Voice app for the police, community emergency response team support items, that's 7 tablets, and 1 5x10 trailer for emergency management for traffic control, which would complement the trailer that they now share with the police department. And perhaps take its place, as you say. And the total of those is $27,825.
Okay. So we have a breakout of the emergency management requests here. We don't have any invoices or any information on the other 2 requests.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
These were, yeah.
It would seem to me.
To the Blue Voice app, and what it does. I just don't have the quote sheet for that.
I'll ask that in a second, but it would seem to me, with what we just rescinded, and I see you have a recommendation here, but it's tough to authorize money without more information. We usually get,
Yes.
an invoice or a write-up. Obviously, we have this chart, but with what we just rescinded, we've got a substantial amount of money left, and the recommendation is for additional DPW equipment and materials. I don't know, I would just wonder, do we need more information? Do we need another meeting before the end of the year? Or would the rest of the board members be satisfied with what was presented?
I'm satisfied with what's presented.
I agree with Bob.
Okay.
I think Tom's going to put it out there for the department heads for needs what they need. So I think adding more to it, I think this is what they've come up with now, so I think this is where we go with that for now.
Yeah. I wish I had a better breakdown for you, but especially with the DPW materials, Bud has a wide range of options of what he could get, so he'll go look at prices and see where good prices are for stone, gravel, sand, all of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I don't think
That's
I'll have
fair.
a problem spending that amount of money on materials.
That's fair. Definitely would like to see, how it's actually spent
Oh, absolutely.
at the end of the
We'll see
day.
it, that's for sure.
Okay.
And I can ask Bud for details and get them out to you right away, and if you decide you want to have another meeting by the end of the month, that's fine too.
Okay. And so I can now ask the question about the Blue Voice app, if someone can tell me what that app is. Just for our knowledge, that's the first time I'm seeing it, so.
Blue Voice app is an app that goes to the officers' work phones and their cruiser MDTs, and what it is, it's artificial intelligence. We upload the Mass state laws, our bylaws for the town, and our policy and procedure. So if they're on a call or they're somewhere where they need that information quickly, like what are the elements of shoplifting, or what are the elements of something, where they don't have to run to the station and look it up in a book, they just ask and it answers them, and it uses generated artificial intelligence from the information we give it. So it doesn't go outside of what we give it, it just puts in the Mass state laws and our bylaws and our policies. So if they have a question on how to handle something based on our policy, they just ask and it will generate the answer based on the information we upload
I see.
to it. It's pretty neat. And
So legal support.
I have the cost if you want it.
Yeah, so the app is $2,925 for the whole department?
Yep.
What's the future support look like on that?
So, Tom and I, and Alyssa too, had a meeting with Maya. This is an app that is extremely supported by Maya, our insurance company, and they said that in all probability we could get a grant through their grant funding because they support this as a benefit to the town. I don't remember the exact words they used, but it helps with our insurance as well. So, because it's just helps
If I
us
remember
be more
correctly,
efficient.
if I remember correctly, you also can upload the blueprints from the high school and the
Yes, so you can
schools.
have all the school plans, you can have accident reports, you can have restraining orders, they're all fillable forms. So we don't have to, no trespass orders, we don't have to go back to the station to get anything or carry paper copies. We
Okay.
can just do it and they're all fillable forms, we can have them
Yeah.
electronically signed. So
All right, that
just makes
sounds
us a little bit more efficient,
cool.
so.
Thank you so much.
Pittsfield PD may have that app, that's why.
Thanks for clearing that
I
up.
appreciate that. That looks like a great tool.
It is.
Okay,
Thanks.
sounds like a great tool. All right. All right, one final question. DPW, new cemetery mower and accessories, 15,000 or 10,743. Which one is it?
That was in case we did not get the extra money from the rescission of.
I see. You would have had to have reduced that amount if we didn't rescind. Okay, gotcha. I'll scratch out the lower number. Thank you.
Oh, and that's actually now 4,239 because of the mistake in the.
I saw that. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think I have sufficient clarity, at least on those. So I'll start making. I'm going to do these four as one motion, I think. All right. Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize the following ARPA expenditures in $15,000 for Department of Public Works, new cemetery mower and accessories, $2,925 for the Blue Voice app for the police department, $4,900 for CERT Support 1, 7 tablets for emergency management, and $5,000 for a 5x10 trailer for emergency management.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we'll need one more motion for the balance.
And that trailer was, I meant to put in CERT Support 2 on that. There were 2 items for Community Emergency Response Team support. So that's why the first one says
Oh, okay.
CERT Support
Gotcha.
1, and the next one is CERT Support
That
2.
we authorize the amounts, though, right?
So the amount left over, I have as $20,771.
Mm-hmm. Okay, final motion for this. Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize $20,771 of ARPA funds for the Department of Public Works for the procurement of equipment and materials.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That takes care of that.
And of course, it stands to reason we'll have, a full accounting of this as
Absolutely.
time goes on. But our understanding is that everything would be committed with purchase orders at least by the end of the year, so.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for bearing with me on that.
Okay, item 10. Proposals for the candidates, Meet the Candidates event.
This was originally suggested by our town clerk, Heather Hunt, and met with widespread approval. I did have conversations with the chair, and I believe the vice chair as well, about how that might look. And the idea was to have the town moderator be the moderator for the event, and to have a chance for everybody in town to meet the 4 candidates now running for the vacant seat on the select board in this location.
January 15th.
And that's one of the things that you were going to bring up, so why don't you take that away?
Okay, the proposed date is January 15th, right here at the senior center. And the select board will not take part of any questions or anything, we'll stay right out of it. It'll be handled totally by the town moderator.
I don't recall that part of the conversation.
Okay.
The moderator, town moderator, being
Well,
involved?
that was what came to mind, and he is available, just to make that clear.
Yeah, well, he is a resident of the town and a voter. I mean, I suppose it might be appropriate, but I do like Henry Rose's idea of someone from a local media who would be objective, for sure.
Okay. It's up to the board to discuss it.
Rich?
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Richard Haley, 52 Hemlock Hill. I am one of the candidates for selectman. I do not approve of having someone in town as a moderator. It should definitely be outside of this town. There are too many factions in this town with too many connections, and having somebody with an outside opinion and outside voice is definitely the right way to go.
It's good feedback.
I think if we've got a date set, we're gonna have to figure out if the editor is available on that date.
Yeah. I mean,
I already asked her if she would do this, and she said yes, and she just asked me, when's the date? So I think you could negotiate that with her.
It's January 15th, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock here?
are we going to ask the other candidates? Because I have not even been approached to this.
No, we were gonna make sure it's approved by the candidates before we actually, we're gonna notify you people to make sure you can.
I would say that the select board does not need to take a vote on this particular forum.
Yep.
That it can be planned independently of the select board's involvement. I don't really want to necessarily give any appearance of favoring any one over the other. I think the media should handle it. Certainly, maybe the senior center could be used as a public space, but I'm not so sure that the select board should be planning candidate forums necessarily.
Yeah, it might be, the Wacona would be better.
I just think that the media should coordinate it, essentially. Media and candidates. That's how it would generally work. When there's a debate for presidential election, the White House doesn't, well, they're probably involved for sure, but they're not the ones who are planning the whole thing. It's usually the media and the candidates, right? It's not government that plans these things. That's my concern. I think we did talk about the idea of a forum, and I supported the forum. I just didn't know what form it would take, of what our involvement would be.
We don't.
So
We didn't get that far either.
I'm not so sure that I think the select board needs to be planning forums. But if the candidates and the media want to have a forum, I would say we would welcome that at the senior center or at Wacona. I can't speak for Wacona. They'd have to make that decision. But I wouldn't see a problem with us.
We would leave that up to.
Well, we've held them here before.
We've had them here before.
Yeah, I know, Dan, you didn't have to debate anybody, but.
No, it was COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different time.
We've had them here, though.
Yep.
Well, we know that this is available on that day.
I'm in support of a forum. I'm in support of, the town offering to use the facility, but I don't think we should be planning it. That's my take.
Who's gonna check with the candidates if they all
People can make motions.
I agree with you, Dan.
Okay.
Yeah, I do too.
Then we don't need to take action on this, and I'll just follow up with Brittany and get her in touch with, and the candidates and have them work it out. Yeah.
Henry Rose, North Mountain Road. So are you trying to get a citizens committee to help arrange the format and how it gets done, how the questions get submitted? This is not a meet and greet, it's a forum where questions
Right.
are asked.
There again, though, is private citizens.
Not gonna get involved.
No.
Yeah, yeah. I think you run into the same problem there. You know,
We can't use, yeah.
people who live in town have opinions. I think we leave that up to the media.
If you
Leave
could,
it all to the media, okay. So
as a
the
suggestion,
select board would authorize the use of this space on that particular day, and you will not
Could do
hire
that
the
tonight.
town
Yeah.
moderator, you will go with iBerkshires and let them.
He gets a stipend, we wouldn't hire him anyway.
Well, he gets paid by the hour, does he not?
No, he gets a stipend for
He
doing
gets a stipend.
I think it's $356 this year.
For all
Okay.
year.
So I think the select board could vote to authorize the use of the space.
Okay.
Yep,
I think at a minimum, and that's about it.
yep.
In my view, anyway.
What other coordination needs to be done? Is it up to me to call the editor of iBerkshires and say, yes, it's a go? But then we also need to contact the 4 or more candidates and find out if they all can be there, because there's no point in having it if all 4 candidates can't be there.
Well, I'm happy to have my office do that.
Okay.
It's just a logistical.
Yeah.
Logistical.
Yeah.
Okay, so your office will contact all 4 or
Yeah.
more candidates and contact Brittany Polito, whose name and email I gave to Bob.
When's the next select board meeting?
January.
Yeah.
January
The only question I
13th?
would have is you know, iBerkshires versus the Eagle.
Okay.
I have a comment, doesn't he? I think iBerkshire.
How about we
should
just take it
respond
out of the
to
select board's
message.
hands? If somebody wants to coordinate it. It's out of our hands, and just be done with it. Nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Actually, you're taking the election out of our hands, so.
So I've heard Tom say that it'll be his office that will do the logistics.
Yeah, happy to do that.
Yeah, pass it over.
And if you need a concerned citizen, you can call on me.
Bill had his hand raised.
Okay, we're done with that.
Did you want to recognize?
Mr. Drossing.
Just one comment, when it comes down to handling the elected, or the people that are involved in the campaign, just a suggestion, considering that the town clerk has certified their candidacy, I would advocate that the town clerk do the reach out for the form. And then I'm just kind of putting that out there publicly, that's not for the select board or anything of that nature. Just to put that out there.
Typically, my office coordinates very closely with the town clerk.
I know, I spin it up, I run it.
Okay, we're moving on.
Should we authorize the use of the
Yeah,
space?
Go ahead, make a motion.
I'm not gonna state the date on this motion though, because I don't know what date it'll
No,
have.
I don't think you need a motion. I think
Yeah.
I
No
think you've
motion.
discussed it.
All right, fair enough.
Good.
I have-
Moving on.
Okay. Number 11.
Right, Alyssa.
This is just to accept municipal ADA improvement grant for accessible countertops for the 3 most visited offices in town hall, the town clerk's office, assessors, and collector's office.
Excellent. Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the municipal ADA improvement grant from the Mass Office on Disabilities in the amount of $10,538.54.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, Tom, number 12, MMA and MIIA annual meetings. resolutions and representation from Dalton.
Yes, annually, every year, the Massachusetts Municipal Association and our insurer, Maya, have their annual meetings at the end of January. They like very much to have an official representative from a town. Typically, I have been that official representative. I'm happy to do that again. I'm planning to go. Again, I encourage everyone who wants to go. It's a lot of networking, learning, just a lot of good conversations, people with creative solutions running around all over the place. So, I am planning to go. If no one objects, I would be happy to serve as the official representative from Dalton for the MMA meeting and the Maya meeting.
I'm familiar with that. You want to make a motion?
Yeah.
And that will take a vote, and I'll get Bob to sign some papers.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Town Manager Tom Hutchison as the representative from Dalton for the annual MMA and MIIA meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made, second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next one I'm gonna do just quickly. Dan and I are working on that. We're gonna get together here, hopefully between the holidays, and come up with a form. And that's that one. Okay. Town manager updates.
Thank you. I'm sure you'll join me in congratulating Police Chief Deanna Stroud for being recently elected to the Executive Board of the Massachusetts Chiefs of Police Association.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
As you know from the earlier appointment, I'm sorry to report that Town Collector Melissa Davis has resigned, effective this coming Wednesday, December 18th. We will be posting soon for a new Town Collector. I am planning to present an FY26 budget substantially higher for two reasons. First, I'm proposing an assistant town manager position to handle human resources and procurement, including project management, as well as providing general support and backup. Second, I am including some money for the end of fiscal year 2026, that is, in a year and a half, for an overlap with a potential future town manager. Representative Pignatelli sent the town the gift of a U.S. flag, which has been flown over the State House in appreciation of Dalton's support over the years. I have signed the contract with architect Brian Humes for the police station feasibility project. So that project is moving forward. I believe he will be an excellent partner for the town. Our national pollutant discharge elimination system permit required us to do some drainage improvements near the town garage. I got a community compact to do that and have sent what I believe is the final version of a contract to the engineers who won the bid. So with any luck, that will be happening soon. Dalton, among other towns, filed for legislation in 2021 allowing the town to leave civil service, the civil service system. Recent state legislation allowed towns to leave civil service, but only those who filed between January 4th, 2023 and July 31st, 2024, not in 2021. I've asked Representative Davis and Senator Mark to find out why the scope is so narrow and to consider additional legislation to apply the same decision to Dalton. Finally, I understand that in the past, on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, Town Hall is closed about 3 p.m. with the time counted as paid time off. the last 3 years, those holidays have not been preceded by a working day. So the issue has not come up during my time here. But since it now has, I intend to honor the custom. And that is my report.
I have one question. Is Orchard Road ready for a bid, go out to bid in January?
No, our lawyers are still talking to MDR lawyers about the APR restriction. We are not sure what any objection might be, because we're not actually asking for a change of use of that small parcel of land. It is already drainage. We're proposing that the drainage go in a different direction. So we're not asking for a change in use. We're asking for a realignment of a change that already exists, which would, we believe, also benefit the field itself. So we don't know what the issue is in MDR at this point, and we're waiting for them to reply. And
is our lawyer working on that, or is our lawyer working with that?
I'm sorry?
Is our lawyer working on them with that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We've been working with them.
Yeah, because if we can get this out to bid January, we get a good price. Okay. Okay, future agenda items. I have one. Tom mentioned at the end of FY '26, it will probably be moving on. And I'm gonna put that on there so we can, anybody has questions or whatever for Tom, we can ask him in the open session, okay? Anyone else?
I don't see it on the agenda, but I received a few items in my packet with proposed resolutions.
Oh, right, we were supposed to cover that in May.
I see.
That's what the MMA wants.
These resolutions, at this point, should they just be on a future agenda item for
Yeah.
the first meeting in January? Is there enough time for that?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the Mass Municipal Association has a number of committees focused on areas of interest to municipalities. These are their policy committees, and their policy committees often have more or less ongoing statements that to communicate, and that the MMA uses as, look, we have our communities that all voted for this, please do it. So that's the process and function of those resolutions.
Is the idea to have these considered, potentially voted on in advance of the meeting?
Yes.
When is the annual meeting?
That's the end of January.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other future agendas? Okay, hearing none. Items not anticipated 48 hours before the meeting. Anyone? Okay, remarks of the select board. I'd like to just thank everybody that had anything to do with light up the holidays. It was a very successful night. Very well attended. Okay, let's just go to the announcements. Want to know what's more about happening in Dalton? Sign up for the monthly newsletter, the Paper Town News. Please visit the town website for more information. The Dalton Police Department are reminding the citizens of Dalton that the winter parking ban, which goes into effect November 15th, 2024, will be in effect to April 15th, 2025, between the hours of 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. During this time, there will be no parking on the streets. There are numerous committees and boards with vacancies, including the Dalton Housing Authority. If you're interested in the Dalton Housing Authority, please call Sue Gregory at 684-2493. For other vacancies, please see the town website, or for more information, reach out to the town manager's office. The town has contracted with Colonial Power to provide an electricity plan for town residents, which have resulted in prices lower than current Eversource prices. For more detail to opt out or in, visit town websites or call town manager's office. The town of Dalton currently has an opening for a town collector, an assistant town clerk, a part-time buildings and grounds assistant. Please visit the town website or contact the town manager's office at 413-684-6111, extension 202. The next meeting of the regular select board meeting is scheduled to take place on January 13th, 2025 at 7 p.m. at the senior center with an option for remote participation. With that, a motion, roll call vote for executive session, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go into executive session and not return to open session for reason number 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements, namely to review and approve executive session minutes, and reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the Dalton Patrol Officers Union, police sergeants, highway, cemetery, and dispatch.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Dan?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Rob? Yes. Okay. We're gonna sign these too. We got all these things.